Hello, welcome back to the studio. I'm Maria. Today we're going to learn about one of my favorite artists, the 17th century Baroque artist Artemisia Gentileschi. She is arguably one of the most famous 17th century Baroque painters, and we're going to learn from her how to create form and value in figure drawings in the classroom. So let's get started. The main focus of our lesson on Artemisia Gentileschi is drawing form and value, and also drawing figures in proper proportion using soft lead pencils and a little white chalk for highlighted areas. So to get started, we need to have a good understanding of how value works in black and white, otherwise known as a grayscale. Now, in an earlier video on my channel, I did discuss the various hardness and softness of lead pencils. And here we have a scale for reference in this little handout that you'll have available in the classroom. And I have a variety of pencils here that show you what they are. Your number 2 is your basic HB, kind of right dab in the middle of the scale, and the H basically stands for hard and the B stands for black. So the harder the pencil, the lighter and grayer that pencil is going to be, whereas the larger the number on the B scale, that is going to be one of your softer pencils. If you're one of my classroom students, you'll get this handout on value and practice shading with your soft lead pencil. On page 2, you'll try shading these forms as demonstrated in the first form here. If you're not one of my students, I would highly recommend just get your sketchbook and practice doing some grayscales with an ebony pencil or some other soft lead pencil somewhere between a 4B or a 6 to 8B pencil, and practice going from its lightest light to its darkest dark within that range. And you can start with the point of the pencil and take it kind of cross-hatching it, or you can also use just the side of the pencil where you're applying a good deal of pressure with your pointer finger and holding the pencil further back away from the point. And in this way, I can get truly the darkest dark out of my ebony pencil, and then start taking it a little lighter. Some people like to do as I've been doing and go a little crisscross in both directions. Other people like to do more of like a circular kind of a way. And again, this is going to be really important. Holding your pencil like this and applying that pressure, you have more control over how much pressure you put on the point of that pencil. You can ease up a little bit and then walk your hand back further on the pencil so that you're not applying nearly as much pressure as you go. One of the things I like to do to get my lightest light is to use my finger to just gently rub at the soft lead pencil, and then what's on my finger I can just gently rub into that lightest light box so that we have a very smooth transition from darkest dark to lightest light. After you have completed the worksheet on value and practice shading and mark making with your soft lead pencil, then you're ready to research your Bible story or character that you're going to try and draw figure drawings of in a composition similar to Artemisia Gentileschi. So I've selected the Annunciation. There are several master works of the Annunciation of Mary that I love. There is Artemisia's Annunciation. There is Leonardo da Vinci's Annunciation, which is very static and unemotional compared to Artemisia's, which is full of that chiaroscuro that is so typical of the Baroque. My all-time favorite, however, is the Henry Ossawa Tanner Annunciation in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. That's my favorite. But since we are going to be practicing drawing form and value, I think the Artemisia composition presents better opportunities for this. So in your sketchbook, you want to create several thumbnail sketches of your idea and select the one that works best. I'm going to select mine, which is a spin-off of the Artemisia composition. I'm just going to focus on Mary's expression and her position, the position of her body and her hands. When drawing the figure, whether it's full figured or a cropped portion of the figure, you always want to start with the head first. From the head stems every other proportion. So I start with my head, and I don't ever want to place my head smack dab in the middle of my page. I want it to be either slightly above, slightly below, slightly to the right or left of the center. That makes for good composition. So I'm going to place the head of Mary just slightly off to the right. And we start with the head, and her neck in Artemisia's painting is extremely foreshortened. Her face is leaning forward and looking down. So we don't have the full extent of the neck as we normally would see. And her chin just grazes across the front of her chest here. So her shoulder actually comes out this way. And I like to draw balls for joints and tubes for limbs, other parts of the limbs. So we're drawing that. We want to get a nice oval. Proportion-wise, the head is the measurement we use for everything on the body. So you might ask the question, well, how wide are the shoulders? Well, you should typically be able to set one head on each shoulder. So if it's too wide, then we need to bring it back in. If it's too small, then we need to pull it out a little bit more. And in Artemisia's painting, we have a lot of fabric covering up some of the key details of the figure underneath. So we want to bear that in mind. The hand, again, is going to be about the same size as the face, from the chin to the top of the forehead where the hair is. So if your hands are looking too small or too large, measure it against the face to see if there's a section that needs to be erased and made smaller or made larger. And at this point, I'm going to be blocking in some of the fabric, the angle of her arm, which again is foreshortened, and where her waist would be is behind this hand, and then the garment from her hips and her legs comes out that way. And then we have the clouds where the power of God is beaming down from heaven to overshadow her so that she conceives Jesus, the Son of God. So I'll continue looking at the painting by Artemisia and adding some of the details that are there. And then I'm going to start shading and building my shadows. I'm going to start with the darkest areas, that chiaroscuro technique that was so typical of the Baroque. We want to start building some of those shadows in the background, and then we can build some of the shadows on the figure and the face and the hands and everything. But we start with building shadows slowly. We can always go back in and deepen or darken a shadow, but once you go too far with the shadow, it's hard to erase that, especially with a soft lead pencil. So we want to just slowly build as we go. Hello, welcome back to the studio. I'm Maria. Today we're going to learn about one of my favorite artists, Artemisia Gentileschi. She was the she was the what? She was the bomb diggity. Hello, welcome back to the studio. I'm Maria. Here we go again. Take 3. If you're one of my students in the classroom, you will get this handout and complete this first before going on to the new blah, 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 blah. I need better script writers.